Hello everyone, welcome back to another video, another reading vlog. And in this video, I will be attempting to read a couple books. Hopefully this lighting is okay. I'm not going to film too much in this lighting. The sun has pretty much set, even though it's not even 7 o'clock yet, northern hemisphere things. Here's the book that I'll be reading this vlog, To Have and to Heist by Sarah Desai. I have started it and I'm also listening to the audiobook just so I can go for a walk and still keep up with my book. But I am looking forward to reading a book that has not much to do with fall or Halloween because I feel a little bit Halloweened out. So I know it's not even Halloween yet, but I just need a break and then I'll be back on to my cozy mysteries and thrillers and all of that. But I'm excited to read this one. The second book, I haven't really decided. I did start Assistant to the Villain. That is this book, you know, the TikTok sensation. And I'm a little bit into it, like you can see. It hasn't captured my interest, if I'm being honest. It's fantasy, and it also has, you know, like some like mystery elements, I'm guessing, but hasn't captured my interest. And just to be a fair reader and not force myself to read something if I'm not feeling it and then give it a bad review later, like I don't believe in that. So I might put this aside for now and come back to it when I'm genuinely in the mood for this book. So I'm not sure, I haven't decided that yet, but I'll keep you posted on what my second book is gonna be. It's the next day and we're still reading. So like I said last night, I'm reading To Have and to Heist by Sarah Desai. I am now 124 pages in, so quite a bit, and I don't think I said last night what this book was about. So this is, like the name sounds, to have and to heist. It's about this Indian American girl in Chicago. She finds herself basically like involved in this like scheme to try and save her friend's name because her friend is like being wrongly accused of a crime, and she finds herself now being involved with these like questionable people who want to run a heist. So basically there's like a $25 million diamond necklace that they have to take back, which is what her friend was accused of stealing, but she didn't. So but in order to clear her name, they're trying to find out where the diamond is and who stole it and then return it to the authorities so her friend's name can be cleared. It's quite fun. I will admit it took me some time to get into this book, but after page like 100 or so, I've been feeling like, okay, things are finally happening. It's much more fast-paced and it's fun. There are certainly some elements about this Indian American family that just don't feel realistic. If any of the brown folks end up reading this book and you're watching this, like let me know what you thought about some of the family dynamics. Doesn't feel realistic, but also as I say that, I don't want to create this narrative and put brown families in a box, right? So, but it just feels very different than what I have seen and heard of. It doesn't mean it's just because I haven't experienced it, it doesn't exist. But if anybody else ends up reading this book and you're South Asian, let me know what you think about the family dynamics in this one. But it's quite fun. I'm also listening to the audiobook simultaneously and I'm actually enjoying that as well. So I'm like reading it and listening simultaneously. It's a bit intense, but it's fun. I'm hoping I can finish this today. Another day, same book. So I am almost done with To Have and to Heist. I have been listening to it on my walks and I have been reading it as well in between whenever I can. And I gotta say, I know I had a bit of a slow start with this book, but the more I read it, the more I like it. So as the book is progressing, it's just becoming more and more fun. I didn't see this book in that category, but the more I'm reading it, the more I would place this in the cozy mystery genre. It has a lot of elements of cozy mysteries. You've got a lovable cast of characters, you've got a lot of outlandish, ridiculous things happening, and there you have a lot of humor. You have a lot of serious topics being discussed from like a very, very humorous lens. So I would say this is totally a cozy mystery, actually. It's just a heist, not a murder that's happened, but it's a heist. That's the only difference, because usually in other cozy mysteries, like, you're solving a crime. This is them trying to conduct a crime and pull that off. And I really like it. I've just got a few pages left now, so I will likely be finishing this today in the next few hours, and I'll check in tonight once I finish this. For my next book, I was thinking about it and I wasn't sure what I wanted to pick up. I had a couple ideas for what I wanted to read next. I have also taken out from my bookshelves all the books I hadn't read yet, and I have put them on my TBR cart so I can actually see them. What I was doing on the cart is as I was buying new books, I would put them on the cart so I could read them, but I had some books slotted away in my bookshelves that I hadn't read, and so I took them out, I put them, I'll show it to you in a bit, I'll put them on my book cart, and I was going through my book cart, and I'm not entirely sure what I'm in the mood for, but I am thinking of picking up The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, because it is fall. And fantasy is something that I absolutely love reading during fall. I decided to read a couple chapters of this just while I was having my breakfast this morning to see if I would like it. And I like it. I think I'm going to read this as my second book for this vlog. I hope I don't change my mind, because I'm liking this. I wanted to continue my ACOTAR reread, and I may just do that too at some point, if not this week, then shortly in the next couple of weeks or so. But this has been sitting on my shelf for some time as well. I've been wanting to read it for some time, so this might be a nice next one to read. But I'll check in with you in a few hours when I have finished To Have and to Heist. All right, so I finished To Have and to Heist, and just gonna take it out of my sleeve here. And I finished it. Like I said, it was fun. As the book progressed, the more I enjoyed it, the more and more I enjoyed it. I do have to say that this is a lovely, lovely cozy mystery with a really lovable cast of characters. The one thing that I didn't love about this was the relationship dynamics between these two, the main couple. It felt a little red flaggy. Some parts of it felt a little red flaggy. I don't know if anyone else got the vibe. So I didn't love that. There's just like parts of it, it felt a little toxic. Not toxic perhaps, but it felt a little unhealthy, if you will, borderline toxic, with the potential to progress into toxic. However, I enjoyed this. I'm actually going to be picking up other books by Sarah Desai. This was my first book by her, and she's written another series, like the Singles Table series, or I think it's A Marriage Plan is the first book, but I'm going to be picking that up. I really liked how she wrote. I did end up giving this 4 stars, which was higher than what I originally thought I was going to give it. I thought originally it was going to be 3.5, perhaps at the most, you know, just under 4 stars, but I ended up giving it 4 stars. I enjoyed it. I think if you're looking for a good cozy mystery that is different in the sense that there's not like a murder, but it's a heist that they're trying to execute. Okay, I was interrupted by a call as I was recording, but I'm not sure what I was saying before I got interrupted, but yeah, I think I was saying that it's a heist, so it's a different type of a cozy mystery. I liked it. Obviously, as with all cozy mysteries, you go in and you take everything with a grain of salt, because stuff is very dramatic, very outlandish. I don't know how like realistic, unrealistic it is, but it was fun. I don't have much more to say about it. I gave it 4 stars. I enjoyed this author. Definitely going to be checking her out more. She's a Canadian author. I had no idea. But Sarah Desai, she lives on Vancouver Island. That's really cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. I've been wanting to get into more Canadian authors, Canadian female, Indo-Canadian, South Asian Canadian authors, and I like her a lot. And like I shared earlier, I started reading The Cruel Prince. It's obviously, I'm 20 pages in. It seems very teen angst. And if it seems a little, I hate the word juvenile, but it just seems like a little too YA, but I'm going to continue to give it a chance because a lot of YouTubers, booktubers that I follow have similar taste as me, and they said that it was a bit hard to get started with it, but they became so invested in it by the end. And if I remember correctly, I think I felt the same way about ACOTAR when I first read A Court of Thorns and Roses. In the beginning, it felt very like, this is teenagery, but it actually got really good, and it's one of my favorite series now of all time. I'm going to be giving this a shot. In other news, I went to Chapters yesterday, which is like our Canadian Barnes and Noble. Well, it's now called Indigo, but you know, us OGs, we know that it was called Chapters. And I saw, this is such an impulse purchase, but I saw this book sleeve, if you can see it. And it's very adorable. It's blue, it's got all different types of cats on it. It has a little magnetic enclosure here, and I mean, I don't know if anybody really needs it, but I found myself purchasing this because I often take books to read in my backpack when I'm out and about, and no matter how hard I try, sometimes the edges get a little bit bent and it really bothers me. I really try to keep my books in amazing condition. So I got this and I put this to use today, and it's very pleasant on the eyes and it's quite functional too, so that's nice. Another thing I purchased when I was at Chapters yesterday is this Harry Potter crochet set. Now, I know nothing about crocheting. I haven't even done ever a paint by numbers, but I, for some reason, been looking to do more things just with my hands when I'm listening to audiobooks. And, you know, this fit the booktuber aesthetic pretty nicely. And yeah, it's a little crochet kit. It comes with everything, and you get to make up to 14 characters. So, you know, you get to make Ron, Harry, Hermione, Ginny, Dobby, Voldemort, Dumbledore, Snape, McGonagall. You even get like the little dragon. I thought that was cute. I opened it up earlier today, then I felt immediately incredibly overwhelmed by all the different types of stitches I was talking about, that I just put it back in neatly and I put it away. I will likely pick it up soon, perhaps in a few days, because I think this would be a lot of fun, and it would actually make for cute holiday gifts for friends and family, at least those who like Harry Potter. And it's a new skill. And I really enjoy doing puzzles when I'm listening to audiobooks, so this will certainly be something new to add to my repertoire. So perhaps in future vlogs you will see me crocheting as I am listening to audiobooks. Who knows? But I will read more of The Cruel Prince tonight and into tomorrow morning. I'm having a bit of a busy weekend, but I'm pretty hopeful that in the next 2 or 3 days I'm going to finish Cruel Prince and I can move on to the next book. Okay, I have not so good news, which is that I have decided to DNF The Cruel Prince. I got through 38% of it, and I just did not feel invested at all. I know I read some Goodreads reviews where people said that they, you know, were so attached by the end of it, and these folks also didn't care too much for it in the beginning, but I waited to feel invested in the story and in the characters, and unfortunately for me, that time just didn't come. And I do feel that life is too short to read books that you don't want to read. So I gave it a shot, 40%. I don't think it's for me. So I have put it back on my shelf. I'm not going to donate it just yet. I will try to come back to this book. As I do with all the books that I DNF, I try to give them another shot some other time. Perhaps I was just not in the right headspace for it. I thought I wanted to read fantasy, but my issue with The Cruel Prince, it just didn't feel like there was much depth to it. It didn't evoke any sort of feeling within me. You know, I hate fantasies where they just throw in this world building without building the world. You know what I mean? There's just like random terms thrown in that there's no explanation for what they mean or like what these characters are, and like it just had a really hard time keeping up with it. And so I've decided to DNF it. I was really looking forward to that book because people compare it to ACOTAR, but to me, ACOTAR really now is the top of the top standard of what an adult fantasy should be. Like, I have not read any Brandon Sanderson's, has been recommended to me because Brandon Sanderson writes top adult fantasy, so I'll give that a shot at some point. But I've been thinking a lot about what I would like to read instead, and I have a couple options. Okay, first up, I started reading Brotherless Night by V.V. Ganeshanathan. Looks like this. It's pretty big. This is a newer book, came out this year, and this is a historical fiction. It has some incredible reviews by authors that I really respect, like Celeste Ng and Britt Bennett, women who write really, really great BIPOC fiction. This just seems like really amazing. So this is basically about a 16-year-old woman in Sri Lanka during their civil war, so 1981, and it follows her and her family's story during the Civil War. That's all I know about it. And I don't want to know more about it because you know I don't like to know much before going into my books. But I do understand that this is obviously going to have a lot of political conflict. There's going to be like some like pain and suffering and resilience that are going to be the main themes in this book, because the 16-year-old protagonist, she wants to be a physician, she wants to be a doctor. And it seems like I started reading it, I'm just like 20-30 pages through, and it seems like where they are right now in the book, the community is at the brink of the Civil War. And coming from a South Asian background myself, unfortunately, there isn't too much that I know about the Civil War in Sri Lanka, and the genocide that followed. So this is a great way for me to fill that blind spot for myself, and also to really appreciate a really great historical fiction. That's like one of my favorite genres. So I don't know if I'll finish it in this vlog because this is a big one. And though it's a very easy read, I'm anticipating some mature themes, so that may make me take a break from this book. So I don't know if I'll finish in this vlog, but I'll certainly be keeping you posted on that. So I'm deciding for this vlog, should I continue to read that one? Or should I pick up from my TBR pile The Midnight Library by Matt Haig? I decided to sit in this chair today and it's very hard for me to fit more in this frame. But this one, Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I have read a couple other things by him, and I really like him. I really like his writing style. And this is so popular. I have seen this everywhere. Everyone's talked about this book. If you're not familiar with it, this book is basically about a library where each book can show you another lifetime that you could have lived, like, if that makes sense. So yeah, like if you pull out a book, like it'll show you your life if you had done things differently, basically what the outcome of your life would have been like. It sounds like a really cool premise. It sounds like that book, Before the Coffee Gets Cold, that's really famous. That's also on my TBR, but this seems like a quick read. So I'm going to read the first 10 or 20 pages of this, see how I feel, and then I'll decide tonight for the rest of the night if I'm going to read Brotherless Night or if I'm going to read The Midnight Library. This is the perfect description of this book. It's not a spoiler. It's like literally like the opening page, more or less. It's just after the opening page, but it says, Between life and death, there is a library. And within that library, the shelves go on forever. Every book provides a chance to try another life you could have lived, to see how things would be if you had made other choices. Would you have done anything different if you had the chance to undo your regrets? That sounds very cool. It is now 12 hours? No, it's now about like 15 hours since I started this book, and I have just finished it. Started it last night, I finished it just now. And I have to share my raw thoughts on this. Midnight Library by Matt Haig. Gosh, it was incredible. It was great. I am like leaning towards 5 stars, and I barely ever, like rarely give 5 stars. I tabbed it a little bit as well as I was reading it, and gosh, this book was so like equal parts philosophical, equal parts realistic, equal parts touching and magical. And I have read another Matt Haig book before, and I left the book feeling this like similar sense of awe and appreciation for his ability to write, and this was incredible. This was sitting on my shelf forever, and I kind of had a feeling that I should pick it up, and I'm gonna regret not picking it up, and I definitely do, because this was so good. Major trigger warning though, suicide is a really, really big theme in this book. So if that's something that is triggering for you, just be cognizant of that. It wasn't like a descriptive, suicidality or anything like that, but there's like a lot of mentions of it. And so just something to be cognizant of. But other than that, I didn't really notice any other triggers. It's a very easy read in a sense that it flows very well, and it's a very bingeable read. And the chapters aren't super long either. Sometimes some chapters are just like a poem or a verse, so you can easily get through it. And when you read a good book and it leaves you feeling so satisfied and comforted, you feel like after a good meal, that's how I feel with this. I really enjoyed it. It makes me happy. After DNFing the last book, I'm like wrapping up this vlog with something that I enjoyed, that made me happy. I am very, very happy about that. So if you've read any other books by Matt Haig, there's always an element of magical realism, if you will. One of his other books, I think it was called How to Stop Time. It's about time travel. This one, there's like a premise of like infinite lives. So, parallel lives, perpendicular lives, metaphysics, that sort of thing. But it's not sci-fi. It's just literary fiction with mentions of parallel universes, but it's not done in a way where it's sciencey or that's a big part of the plot. So if you're looking for a quick read that is still very great, very powerful, very impactful, I would certainly recommend this. It was lovely. And obviously To Have and to Heist by Sarah Desai, the one that I read at the beginning of this vlog, was also great. If you have read either of these or plan on reading them, let me know your thoughts down below. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for joining me for this little reading vlog. Let me know, what are your thoughts? I'm still trying to get my feet wet with vlogging and recording my reading process. So let me know how this was for you. Thanks so much for being here and taking time out of your day, and I'll see you in my next one.